Picture this. It's 7:43 a.m. You need to leave in 2 minutes. Your 5-year-old is standing in the hallway, one shoe on, staring at the wall. Put your other shoe on, please. Nothing. Sweetheart, we need to go. Shoe on. Still nothing. I'm counting to 3. 1, 2. Sound familiar? Here's what's actually happening in this moment, and it might sting a little. You're training your child not to listen. Every reminder is a lesson. Every countdown is practice. And what your child is practicing right now is this. I don't need to respond until mom hits a certain volume level or dad uses that tone. Now, let me show you something that might frustrate you. In Japan, 4-year-olds walk to school alone. They navigate subway systems. They serve lunch to their classmates, clean their schools, and yes, they put their shoes on the first time they're asked. Before you roll your eyes and think, well, that's Japan, stay with me. Because this isn't about culture. It's about neuroscience. By the end of this video, you'll understand a simple framework that transforms chaotic routines into smooth cooperation. Not through more control, but through less. Problem deep dive. Let me ask you something. How many times do you remind your child to brush their teeth in a single evening? How many times do you say get dressed before they actually start moving? And here's the real question. Why do you think that is? Your child is listening perfectly. They've just learned that the first 3 requests don't really count. You've accidentally taught them to wait. Here's what the neuroscience tells us. Every time you remind your child, you're activating their working memory instead of letting them use their own. Their prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for self-regulation, is essentially sitting on the bench while you play the game for them. It's like hiring a personal trainer who lifts the weights for you. Sure, the workout is happening, but whose muscles are getting stronger? Right now, you're stuck in what I call the obedience trap. You want compliance. That's obedience. But what you actually need, that's discipline. Obedience is external. Discipline is internal. And here's the thing. You cannot nag someone into discipline. You cannot remind someone into self-regulation. The neural pathways for self-initiated action are completely different from the pathways for compliance. When your child waits for your reminder, their basal ganglia, the part of the brain that automates routines, never gets to build the habit loop. Cultural comparison. In Japanese elementary schools, there's no janitorial staff. 6-year-olds clean toilets. They mop floors. They organize supply closets. Not because Japanese children are better behaved, because they practice something called kata. Kata literally means form or practiced routine. In martial arts, it's a choreographed sequence of movements you practice until they become automatic. In daily life, it's the same principle applied to everything from folding clothes to morning routines. Japanese parents don't remind more. They remind less. Way less. Instead, they practice the routine with their child until the routine becomes the reminder. The structure itself prompts the action. Not mom. Not dad. The structure. Here's what might blow your mind. This isn't cultural. This is neurological. Your child's brain is desperate for predictable patterns. The basal ganglia is literally designed to turn repeated sequences into automatic behaviors. Concept introduction. Think of kata like this. If you want strong biceps, you don't occasionally think about lifting weights. You do the actual repetitions. The same weight, the same form, over and over. Kata is the same thing, but for behavior. Here's the core principle. Structure isn't the opposite of freedom. Structure is what creates freedom. When your child has a deeply practiced routine, their prefrontal cortex isn't burning energy trying to remember what comes next. That cognitive load is freed up for creativity, problem solving, and actual cooperation. The framework, 4 pillars of Kata. Pillar 1, consistent sequence. This is the exact same order every single time. Not get ready for bed. That's vague. Instead, pajamas, teeth, toilet, book, bed. Same order. Always. Why this works? The basal ganglia creates habit loops through prediction. When action A always leads to action B, a neural pathway forms. The mistake parents make. Flexibility. Tonight we'll do teeth first because... No. Flexibility is the enemy of automaticity. Example, a 3-year-old finishes dinner. Without being asked, she goes to the bathroom because that's what always comes after dinner. Not because she's being good. Because her basal ganglia has learned the sequence. Pillar 2. Environmental cues. This is setting up physical prompts that trigger the next action. Pajamas sit in the same spot every night. Toothbrush is already prepared. The book waits on the pillow. Why this works? Mirror neurons in your child's brain respond to visual cues even more powerfully than verbal instructions. The mistake parents make: everything in random places. No consistent visual landscape. Example, a 5-year-old walks into the bathroom and sees their clothes laid out in order. They get dressed in sequence without a single reminder because the environment is the reminder. Pillar 3. No verbal reminders. You practice the routine with your child. You walk through it together. But once the routine begins, you zip your lips. Why this works? Every reminder you give is an interruption to their internal process. Your child's working memory can't hold the routine and process your instructions simultaneously. The mistake parents make: helping by narrating. Okay, now teeth. Good. Now toilet. You're doing the cognitive work for them. Example, a 4-year-old starts their morning routine. Dad sits nearby reading. The child gets stuck, just stands there. Dad waits. 15 seconds pass. Then the child's face lights up. Oh, shoes. Dad never said a word. Pillar 4. Practice outside the moment. This is rehearsing the routine when you don't need to do it. Mid-afternoon, for no reason at all, you practice the bedtime sequence. Make it playful. Why this works? The hippocampus encodes information more effectively during low-stress practice than during high-stress performance. The mistake parents make: only addressing the routine when it's time to actually do the routine. Example, after lunch on Saturday, a parent says, "Hey, let's practice our getting ready for school routine." Monday morning, the routine flows smoothly because it's been rehearsed when stakes were low. Concrete implementation. 5 steps. Step 1. Map the routine. Take one routine. Just one. Write down every single micro-step. Instead of, get dressed, you write, take pajamas off, underwear on, shirt on, pants on, socks on. Why? Because get dressed requires your child's prefrontal cortex to create a plan. Each micro-step is one simple action. Real scenario: a 7-year-old takes 20 minutes to get dressed. Parent maps out the micro-steps with simple pictures. Within a week, getting dressed takes 6 minutes, 0 reminders. Step 2. Practice with full presence. Set aside 20 minutes when no one is tired, hungry, or stressed. Walk through the routine together. Physically, actually do each step. What's happening? Mirror neurons are firing. They're not just hearing instructions, they're seeing the sequence and doing the movements. 3 encoding pathways instead of 1. Real scenario: a 4-year-old keeps forgetting the hamper. Parent spends one Saturday practicing the complete before-bed routine 5 times. Makes it a game. By Monday, clothes make it to the hamper without a reminder. Step 3. Remove yourself gradually. First few days, you're right there. Next few days, you're in the room, but not leading. Following week, you're nearby, but in another room. What's happening? You're fading the external scaffold. Their prefrontal cortex is slowly taking over the monitoring function you were providing. When they skip a step, you don't swoop in. You wait until the routine is complete, then practice that specific step again. Step 4. Make the environment the reminder. Set up physical cues that make the next step obvious. Pajamas go in a specific basket. Shoes live by the door. What's happening? The visual cortex processes environmental cues unconsciously. Your child sees the empty basket before their conscious mind has even processed, "I should get dressed." Real scenario: a 5-year-old keeps leaving their backpack in random places. Parent designates a hook by the door with a picture above it. Within 2 weeks, the backpack goes on the hook automatically. Step 5. Protect the sequence. Monday through Thursday, you follow the routine. Friday, you're running late, so you skip a step. Saturday, you're at grandma's house, so the routine doesn't happen. And Monday morning, you're back to square one. The basal ganglia requires consistency to build automaticity. Every exception is a disruption to the neural pathway being formed. You can be rigid for 4 weeks. That's what this takes. 4 weeks of absolute consistency, then you can introduce flexibility.
Reaktion handling.
My child has ADHD/autism/strong-will. Children with executive function challenges benefit more from structured routines, not less. Kids with ADHD have reduced activity in the basal ganglia. Know what strengthens those pathways? Repeated, consistent routines. Your strong-willed child isn't resisting structure. They're resisting control.
Kata isn't you controlling them.
It's them learning to control themselves. This won't work in my culture/family.
Kata isn't about being strict.
It's about being clear. Your child's basal ganglia doesn't care about your parenting philosophy. It responds to pattern and repetition regardless of cultural context. You're creating structure so clear that you don't have to be authoritarian. I don't have time for this. How much time do you currently spend reminding, managing meltdowns, and negotiating over things that should be automatic? Probably 30 to 60 minutes a day. Kata front-loads the investment for weeks of intentional practice. Then your mornings run on autopilot. Remember that 5-year-old standing in the hallway, one shoe on? Here's the same morning, 4 weeks later. It's 7:43 a.m. Your child finishes breakfast, takes their plate to the sink, goes to the shoe basket, puts on both shoes, grabs their backpack from the hook, and stands by the door. You haven't said a word. Not because your child is now obedient. Because the routine is the reminder. That's Kata. It's not magic. It's neuroscience. Here's your framework. Consistent sequence. Environmental cues.
No verbal reminders.
Practice outside the moment. Will the first week be messy?
Yes.
That's how learning works. Start with one routine. Map the microsteps. Practice with full presence. Remove yourself gradually. Let the environment do the reminding. Protect the sequence. For weeks. That's all you need to see transformation. Tonight, before bed, write down the microsteps of one routine. That's it. Your child is capable of so much more than you're currently asking of them. Not because you're asking too little. Because you're reminding too much. Let the structure do its job. And watch what happens when you finally step back.